April is generally referred to as Autism Awareness or Autism Acceptance Month. Last week I did a video on why autistics like myself do some of the traits you see us do. So today I am going to talk about how you can better advocate for us in the classroom and help us. That's coming up next on Weathering the Autism Storm. Welcome back to Weathering the Autism Storm. I'm JP, your host of this vlog, where we explore my life as an autistic meteorologist through my lens. If you are new to my channel, then welcome, as I have been doing mostly educational videos of stuff I have had to deal with due to my autism, such as budgeting and this week's topic due to the COVID outbreak, but I plan on doing more fun videos once things get back to normal, including taking you on some of my adventures. Last week I talked about how autistics like myself do some of the common traits such as stimming. So this week we'll continue on this same theme by looking at how teachers and parents can better advocate and support autistic students who have some of the traits, especially regarding communication. In addition, I will focus on how autistic students can advocate for themselves, especially in college. Here in the US, most autistic students like myself have gone through, or are going through, or will go through an individualized education program or an IEP. However, most IEPs involve some of the students' teachers and at least one of the students' parents or guardians or caretaker, but hardly ever the student themselves about the student's needs and how to proceed without the student themselves. The problem here is that the student is not as actively participating in the planning, which could hamper them, especially if the IEP comes up with a plan that does not seem idealistic. This can be solved by having the therapist or the counselor or the parents or both talk to the student and be able to communicate at the meeting the student's needs as told from the student themselves. For example, if I'm a visual learner, but nearly all my teachers are teaching orally with little to nothing visual, like no slides, I would speak up about it, and if the teacher prefers not to show slides in class but rather would be able to make some slides and share it on the classroom dashboard, such as Canvas or Schooloop. Another possibility would be for teachers to ask the students' classmates about helping out as a note taker. This is not a common practice. However, I had some classmates help me with notes in college and I found it to be helpful. Although the note taking would require privacy, as I know from my college experience, so that could come into play. Teacher education programs now include the concept of universal design, which aims to make lesson material more accessible to all types of learners, so visual aids and other devices are becoming more common in standard lesson plans. How can teachers help step up to the plate with autistic students? One of the ways they can do this is to do a get-to-know with the class, like their names and their learning preferences. Doing this would allow them to adapt a plan to make sure all the students get a fair chance at passing and make sure the autistic student is accommodated. In addition, teachers can advocate for their students by talking to the students if they notice they are struggling. I know teachers have over 200 students. But if someone is struggling, the teacher should help the student as much as possible in succeeding. In addition, teachers, especially college professors, should learn or find out about possible services such as note-taking, which I previously mentioned, to help the students in addition to make their notes accessible to satisfy the students, such as for those who prefer visual versus written. Teachers should also treat all of their students like human beings, each having individual goals or struggles. This is especially important for autistic students who frequently experience dehumanizing behaviors. Another thing that comes up between teachers and the parents of autistic students is stimming and the meltdowns that autistics have in class. In my previous episode, I described why we stim, but I am going to reiterate it here. Stimming is what the hand flapping and rocking back and forth usually is called. Autistics do it as a way to process information as well as to help calm ourselves down, to show emotional. If we get overwhelmed or underwhelmed by stimulations like sounds and noises. While stimming might be distracting, please keep in mind that it is just how we are trying to get back, how we the students are just processing the information and trying to get back into sync. And if another student complains, just explain it as just that the student is just processing the information differently and not to make fun of them. Also, I heard meltdowns and shutdowns have been a constant theme that teachers have regarding autistic students. I did not discuss autistic meltdowns in last week's episode, but I will cover it in more detail in a future episode. However, meltdowns occur when we get overstimulated or stressed from the environment that stimming might not even help because of from a stressful period of a few minutes to a few days or even weeks or months. A way that teachers can help students with meltdowns is asking the student what would help them if one does occur, instead of just assuming. Autistic shutdowns, on the other hand, are harder to detect since they occur most internally. If a student is unable to respond to what they need, the best thing is to offer them basic safety and comfort. To sum up the first two points, the best ways that a teacher can help their autistic students is to learn what strategies work and don't work for learning, how to help the student if they are struggling in the class, and what the teachers can do if the student starts stimming or even having a meltdown or shutdown in the middle of a class. Now, how can parents advocate for their autistic children at the IEP meeting? One of the first things is to have the student themselves be at the meeting with you, as it is about them, and they could help with the input about the timetable. The reason is at the IEP that most people assume that there are a few set timetables, but that is not true, as it is possible for so many possibilities of timetables in development, like in math, science, and so on. Another way for parents to step in is to speak at the PTA meetings and talk about how the school could do better for autistics. But how can the autistic students stand up for themselves? One of the first things you can do is tell your parents in some way what you are struggling with in school and what you think might be better, like more slides instead of just writing on the board, for example. Another thing you can do is to be straightforward and explain to the teacher if you are not doing well, what's going on, like if the notes are too complicated, for example, or ask for a better way to describe something like, for example, I should have asked about some of the variables more better in meteorology. Another thing you can do is go to the teacher or professor's office hours and ask for help to explain something that does not make sense. Also, you should think or write down what you think works and what doesn't work. If something starts to not click, like you used to be more of a visual learner, but even with the visual notes, you are now struggling in class. However, college is a different ball game. I talked to a professor via Twitter, and she mentioned how many of her fellow faculty members are unfamiliar with some of the services that the school provides for disabled students, such as note-taking. In addition, the professors mentioned that not many students ask questions or for help, and generally leads to the professors assuming a monolithic style. But those professors can help students by asking what their learning preferences are and allow the students to come to them in office hours if they are struggling with a concept such as the third law of thermodynamics. Finally, students should be upfront with their professor about their disability, including the stims, at office hours or before class, but without anyone overhearing it due to privacy laws, especially those of the student. Professors should also learn to familiarize with what the school disability office offers, such as note-taking, recording, and transcribing. And those are some of the major points to keep into consideration for teachers, parents, and autistic students when dealing with school. If you have more tips that help or find these to be helpful, please leave them in the comments below. Also, if you have ideas for future educational topic episodes or posts on my written blog, just comment them down below as well. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and help get this video to 1,000 views in order to help promote autism awareness and acceptance in schools. And I'll see you next time on Weathering the Autism Storm.